it?
Sure thing. I'm going to share my screen to get us going here.
Okay.
First, just welcome everyone from other sections. Thanks for coming today, guys. All right, again, thanks everyone for coming today. I'm just going to set up our poster here. Appreciate you taking an interest. 1 second, I'm sharing my screen there, so stop messaging me. Great. All right, so GeoTracker is the name of our application. What you need to know about GeoTracker is this is a cross-platform mobile application. It's going to run on Android and iOS. Its main purpose is to visualize a variety of environmental events like earthquakes, wildfires, volcanoes, so natural disasters, as well as different weather phenomena, precipitation, clouds, barometric pressure. Additionally, we have the ability to visualize social media trends, specifically Twitter, trending in a region or trending about a specific natural disaster. So the app is overlaid on top of a map. We can have a satellite view as well. And you can also then share those disasters to your friends and let them know about them. So the features that we set out to implement and that we did implement were that a user can view natural disasters and Earth type events on a global scale, historical as well as current. We also wanted the user to be able to view historical weather data and current weather data overlaid on top of that, on top of their map. So users can also view trending tweets in a region where that region is defined by the corners of your screen, the viewport that you're currently looking at. So the closer you're zoomed in, the smaller that region. And users can view if there are any recent tweets about a given disaster. So say you click on some disaster, a hurricane recently, and you want to see if anyone's tweeting about that. We can show you that in a user-friendly way. Users can also log in and save disasters for viewing in another session or being able to not have to look it up manually. And also users can share disasters with others via local messaging applications, social media applications, or email clients. So whatever application is installed on your device should work with GeoTracker to allow you to send some information out. So the design and architecture, we used React Native for our front end, and we used AWS to host, AWS services to host our backend and also do all of the storage and data processing. So React Native was used because it's very easy to do cross-platform development. It helps with rapid iteration because we can very quickly see what we're doing. And with AWS, we use a number of services, but specifically we used AWS Amplify to tie all of our services together. So we pulled information from a bunch of different APIs. We have Twitter, we have various NASA APIs for weather and historical events, and government APIs. So we processed those in a couple of different lambdas, AWS lambdas, and then we made that in the correct format for interface that we could then serve up as endpoints via our AWS Amplify. Also, some other services we use were AWS Cognito for user authentication, login, and signing out. And we also used DynamoDB for saving any kind of user information in the back end. Great thing about AWS is it allows us to scale pretty much seamlessly. This, theoretically should be able to run up to 10,000, 100,000 users. The only limit right now being that we're using the free tier of Twitter API. So that times out at like 50 calls a minute or 15, whatever it is. But so right now there is a limit, but it would be easy to just get a premium membership and it would scale up without having to change the backend's architecture. So the results that we got were really great. we implemented the features that we set out to implement. We were really pleasantly surprised with the utility and usefulness of the Twitter feature because that was an added feature that wasn't initially part of our design. So future improvements. Oh, I got to mention our challenges. There's a number of challenges here we did face. So the big challenge we faced was cross-platform stability. And this was a reoccurring issue. Like iOS and Android, sometimes it'll work on iOS, not on Android. Most of the time with UX, but sometimes with weather animation, there was an issue with rendering. And then just weather animation, making it look fluid. That was something that was difficult, and we'd like to, in the future, if we work on this, spend more time getting it to look nicer. And then just verification that disasters are happening on the right time and in the right location, because I don't know off the top of my head where a wildfire should be. So making sure that that's actually correct. And just the last thing I would say is, if we were to do this, spend more time on this, we would want to do some more usability testing to get some the confusion points for the user and streamline the UX just to make it a little bit nicer for people to use. So yeah, that is the introduction. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it off to my friend Alec.
Thanks, Bram. So as we begin the demo and user case section, Rob is going to share his screen, and each of us will be going through some user stories and showing how the user would use GeoTracker. And then currently Rob is on Android, and halfway through our user stories, we'll switch to the iOS operating system. So the first user story is going to show weather animation. So for some people, in our case, a farmer, different weather patterns can help or hurt his business. So the next user story is going to go over how a farmer could use GeoTracker.
In this user story, we have a farmer named Roger who's interested in visualizing precipitation from last spring over the small agricultural city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he operates a small farm. After Roger loads into GeoTracker, he goes over to the filter page and selects the precipitation filter. He also turns on a filter to view no events as he finds them distracting from the weather. Out of curiosity, he decides to select Go to Today and checks what the precipitation level will be like today. This brings up the precipitation for today, along with a legend on top on how to read, how to interpret the data. As you can see, there's not much precipitation going on outside of the Atlantic. So after visualizing this, he decides to go back to the filter page to select a new date range and examine precipitation over the spring of 2020. He decides he'll look at April 2020 specifically. This will allow Roger to see what the precipitation was like this past spring, giving him insights on how the weather will be like when he plants his crops next season, and it will allow him to make a more informed decision on irrigation equipment purchases that he needs to do for next season. So he decides to click on Filter Range, and it brings him over to the map screen again. Roger presses the Start button and begins visualizing the weather. As you can see, the weather formations are forming here. And at the top of the application, you can see what date the app is currently displaying. Here we see more weather patterns, some larger patterns emerging as well. So about halfway through the visualization, Roger presses the pause button, and he goes back 3 days by pressing the rewind button to look at a weather formation he found pretty notable. After seeing this, he goes back another 3 days to see how that pattern developed. Roger presses the Start button again, and he decides to finish the rest of the animation. So using his experience with rain trends in the spring, Roger decides he probably shouldn't be buying extra irrigation equipment as there was already a healthy amount of precipitation last April. This is how someone would use the weather animations to make more informed business decisions.
Awesome. So as the animation finishes, I'll introduce our next user story. So next, Tyler is going to go through and talk about creating an account with GeoTracker. This would be a good idea for someone who's interested in keeping up with specific disasters so that a user can save, share, and stay updated with current or historical events.
Hey, so yeah, like Alex said, I'm going to walk through a scenario where a woman named Priyanka is looking to keep up with a tropical storm near the city where her family lives. She knows tropical cyclone Navar was headed toward her home country of Sri Lanka, and she is concerned about her family. It's too late to call her family, so she decided to check GeoTracker to see more information about the storm. To start, Priyanka is going to create an account on GeoTracker and sign in through the Settings tab. Priyanka will provide a unique username and password to be able to log into the app. After doing so, she will also provide her email and phone number so that GeoTracker confirm her identity and credentials. Once Priyanka is signed as a new user, she will then be sent an email to confirm her new account. She's pulling down her notifications, and there it is. She'll now enter in a confirmation code to make sure that GeoTracker knows who she is. And she can now log into the application with her new account. Now that Priyanka is officially signed into the application, she's going to filter for severe storms, which is a problem from her hometown, her home country in Sri Lanka. She's going to enter the date range, November 22nd, December 7th, so you can see what's going on recently. Because then going to search for Sri Lanka on the map, and she's going to navigate there so she can see the location on the map. After zooming out, Priyanka sees a cluster of events off the east coast of Sri Lanka. She clicks the northernmost event to bring up the event modal. This event is Tropical Cyclone Navar. Priyanka clicks Save on the Tropical Cyclone Navar. Under the modal buttons, Priyanka notices a tweet in the modal. Since the tweet gets cut off in the modal, Priyanka decides to click on the top tweet. Here, you'll be able to read the entire tweet in the full native Twitter experience. After reading about Navar, Priyanka decides to look for another tropical storm that she's read in the tweet, Brevi. Brevi is a cyclone her family mentioned that was close by. She sees it near Tropical Cyclone Navar. After looking through and reading through various tweets about the cyclone again, Priyanka decides to click on the first tweet. The first link shows the path that the tropical storm has been and its predicted path. Priyanka can now clearly see from the projection that her family should be in the clear for the cyclone. Priyanka now makes her way to the feed screen. Once on the feed screen, Priyanka will be able to interact with her saved events. These events will stay here until they are deleted off the card feed. Now Priyanka can use the go-to functionality to revisit her saved storm and check for updates through Twitter. In conclusion, having talked to her family after this tweet was posted, she now knows her family is safe.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. So GeoTracker is an app that can be used for many purposes, as we've said. So there's a lot of benefits to the visualization of historical storms. In this next use case, I'm going to share how GeoTracker can be used in a learning environment to help students begin their initial research on certain storms. So this use case comes from the perspective of a teacher named Pamela, and Pamela teaches climatology on the East Coast of the United States. So she assigned a report on current or historical tropical storms that have happened in the Atlantic Ocean. For this project, the class split into groups, and each group decided to select months to check out what storms have happened during those months. So one of the groups decides to see if any storms happened today, the day they're using the app. So they go to the filter page, they filter for severe storms, and they select go to today. So as you can see, this brought up a notification that told the users that no events, no severe storms happened today, December 7th. So after clicking OK, they go back to the filter screen and they say, okay, now we want to see if any tropical storms happened in the past week in the Atlantic Ocean. So they can reset their start date and filter again. This time, no warning came up, so they go to the Atlantic, but still no tropical storms happening over in the Atlantic Ocean. So, you know, now they're thinking, well, we want to see some storms that have happened. Let's check the whole year of 2020. So if we go to the start date and select January 1st, the groups will now see every storm that has happened in the Atlantic Ocean over the past year. And after scrolling into the East Coast of the United States, they see, oh, wow, there was a storm pretty close to South Carolina. So they go and they decide to click on that modal. And it happens to be Tropical Storm Bertha. So once selecting the modal, they see that, okay, this storm happened May 27th in 2020. And they decide that that's the month that they're going to choose to do their research on. So at the end of the class, all those groups come together, and this group decides to share that they're going to be researching Tropical Storm Bertha, which happened in the month of May 2020. So now that we're going to take this time to switch operating systems, and I'm going to pull up iOS just to show how the similar functionality. And to introduce Rob's, GeoTracker can also show weather with events at the same time. So Rob's going to go over a user story that deals with possible correlation between the two.
Thanks, Alec. So in the scenario that I'm going to go over, I'm going to be talking about a man named Jax, who's aware that in the United States this past year, there's been a problem with wildfires on the West Coast. So Jax wants to see an animation of wildfires and surface temperature over a specific date range to see if there's any possible correlation. While Jax is using GeoTracker, he goes to the filter screen to select temperature in the weather filter and wildfires in the event filter. After choosing those filters, Jax will select a date range from October 10 to October 31st. He presses the filter range and is brought to the map screen over the West Coast. After pressing the play button, Jax will see day by day how the wildfires start and end on the West Coast and the surface temperature of each of those days. And one thing that we can also see is that as wildfires begin near each other, they'll cluster into groups, as are indicated by those little green circles. And if they leave from those areas, the numbers will also go down. So watching that animation, Jax happens to see that there wasn't a definitive change in accordance with when wildfires start, when they end, and surface temperature, and comes to the conclusion that there is no correlation between the two, which surprises him.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. And our last user story will be introduced by Brahm. And this is going to show how a user can use the regional Twitter information that GeoTracker offers. So I'll let Brahm explain this last use case.
Great, thank you, Alec. So I'm going to introduce to you a user named Pablo. And Pablo lives in Chile in South America in the northernmost region. And he's, unlike the previous user stories, he's not looking for a specific disaster or event. He doesn't really have much access to media. So all he has is a smartphone, and he wants to find out about any disasters near him or his friends or family in other places in Chile. So first thing he's going to do is he's going to go down to Chile. You can either search or pan down there. Looks like he's panning down. And he's going to, we're not interested in temperature or wildfires right now because he doesn't know what he's looking for. So he's going to change the filter from temperature to none because he's not concerned with the weather data. And he's going to change the disasters to all events because he is not exactly sure what he's looking for. But he does know that he wants to look for things that are recent. So he'll click as a start date, November 30th. And we'll set as a send date, end date today, the 7th. Okay. After checking that, looks all good. He'll hit filter range. All right. So we see a couple things popped up. On the top, we see two icons. It look like a house falling into a crack, which is an earth with our earthquakes. And then we see a cluster on the southernmost area. So he doesn't know what those are. So he's going to click on that cluster of two. By looking at the icons, we can see without clicking them that these are wildfires. He'll click on the northernmost one because that is closer to where he lives. All right. There is the wildfire, and wow, look, it started December 4th. That's 3 days ago, so it could still be going. He's surprised to see there's no tweets about this, but maybe it's not affecting that many people or enough to tweet about it. So he clicks out because he's actually more concerned with the earthquakes, and he'll check back and see if there's any tweets about that later. All right, so he goes up to the earthquakes, clicks down on them. All right, so again, he lives in the northernmost region, so he's going to go ahead and click on that northern earthquake icon. Oh man, so this is a magnitude 6.1 earthquake, and it happened yesterday, December 6th. So this is something that could be really serious, and I actually hope everyone's okay. But there's also no tweets for it. So to double check this, because it could just be that maybe the exact string's not matching perfectly, he's going to check out he's going to click outside of the modal. He's going to zoom out to fit both these earthquakes in his window. There we go, looks good. And he's going to click on the Twitter icon in the right-hand corner. So wait a second. Okay, we have some trends populating up here. He's going to scroll down and up. Doesn't see the name of the earthquake or of the fires or anything about that. He can click on some of these if he wants, and tweets about each trend populates in the bottom. Kind of taking a cursory glance from the ones I can understand, it looks like none of them are, or Pablo can understand, none of them are about the earthquakes or fires. So what is he going to do? Well, he'd like to share this to Twitter and hopefully add some more hashtags and trends about this earthquake. So he's going to click on the earthquake icon. He's going to click the share button, and you'll notice a little modal pops up with various apps he can share it in. So he's concerned with the Twitter app because he wants to hopefully get this trending and help people out. You'll notice there's an embedded link there that we add automatically, and that's going to just share information about the earthquake. But he can also add a personal message and hashtags to it. And you'll see it populates like Twitter. This is just Twitter. It populates with already existing hashtags. So Chile earthquake is actually already a hashtag. So maybe this will become trending. Probably not with just one hashtag, but he can try. So he's going to post it, and let's go check out Twitter. All right. All right, we see his tweet on his Twitter, and we can click on that top link he posted. And it takes us to a government website where we have a bunch of different data about earthquakes, about that specific earthquake and its location and everything you'd want to know. So Pablo began this journey not knowing anything about what was happening near him disaster-wise, and now he has learned about the disaster and helped raise awareness within his friend circle and hopefully others on social media. So that's a great example of how a user can use our application to learn about natural disasters near them or other places. So yeah, that's Pablo's user story.
Awesome, thank you, Bram. So that concludes our final demo for GeoTracker. So now would be a time where you can ask questions, and Bram is going to pull up some information if you guys are interested in using our app right now. In the chat, if you're using an Android, we can give you a APK download link. And then on iOS or Android, also Android users can use this, but if you download the Expo client from your app store, you can follow these instructions with the sign in and run our application. So I'll put the
Any questions or anything while people are doing that? And thanks again for people coming who are interested in watching. Really appreciate that. Oh, Charlie, Charles, we can't hear you. You're talking. You're muted.
Hold on, I might be able to unmute him.
Yeah,
He's good.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I muted. Yeah. Thank you for the demo. I like your use cases. It really tells a story, and I also use the real data, right? Earthquake are real, Wi-Fi are real, and up to date, today, December 7th. So really convince people this is a real application. So it looks like it's a very solid application. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is if you publish it and how you're going to scale up, the capacity and the scalability of the application. If 10,000 users simultaneously, log into your server,
Yeah.
I know you have no chance to test it. What do you propose if, I suggest if you have a chance to make this is a real product and you really want people to use it, then all of a sudden 10,000 people log in, you find that your single server really cannot support, that application anymore. So what would be your solution?
Well, I know Tyler could probably speak a little bit to this because he definitely helped a lot with the AWS in the back end. But one of the big advantages of AWS and the Lambda functions in particular is that once they're warmed up, like if you haven't used them in 10, 15 minutes or whatever that is, once those functions are warmed up, it should be able to scale pretty almost instantaneously. You need, if you want 1,000 Lambda function calls, it should be able to give you those in a couple, in maybe half a second or less, or whatever the milliseconds is on that. So the Lambda function should be able to scale really well. Really, the constraints on scaling this up would be, as you mentioned, stability beyond just making sure that this thing works in all the edge cases, but really the APIs that we're using and kind of consolidating. So one of the APIs are using Open Weather API, and we're like limited on like 600 calls a minute. So we would know that would pretty much kick out right after if more than a couple people really started using it at once to look at current data. And the Gibbs data gives us a couple million, but even then, if we had 10,000 users, it's very possible we could kick out on that. So the solution would be with Gibbs, we need to do a bulk download of historical data all at once, and then kind of store that in the database, and then you'd be doing database calls as opposed to API calls. And with the Open Weather, it would just be, that's a matter of just getting some money, and you have to say they have an enterprise version that costs a couple $100 a month, and you get basically couple tens of millions of calls, and and so those are the real constraints. I think that, and Tyler, please correct me if I'm saying something wrong here. That I think that the AWS would not be the hardest part about scaling. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Our entire backend is built serverless architecture, so it scales the domain automatically.
Yeah. So that would be good stuff.
Well, and in a world where we have unlimited funds, we would probably also be able to deploy our own ArcGIS server to serve us our map tiles once we've gotten them from Gibbs data.
Oh yeah, good point. Very good point. Because right now we're calling these individual tiles through an API, and that's how the overlay is built. And it would be nice to build our own tile API, which would definitely help things out.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also, how do you propose? I like your idea. You have a, it's a very natural link between your app to Twitter. So you find some natural disaster, you can say, hey, there's no Twitter, nobody tweets, so I can send my link. Any kind of demo, anything can show, yeah, an events occurred. There's a lot of tweets there. So I think you should be able to find a case. There is an event. A lot of people talking about. So
There was, the other day when I was testing the application, this thing happened, which I wish this thing happened where I was like, I was testing the app and I was looking at I was testing Twitter and I was testing trending tweets over California just because that's where I was over. And I just happened to click on some trending title, not knowing what it was. And by reading the tweets, I realized, oh man, this is tweets about a wildfire that is happening today. And then I switched on wildfire and saw there was 2 wildfires on that day. Now, I can't, I couldn't have done that today because that was just a moment that happened to happen on that day, So it's hard to do it's hard to plan a use case or user story rather for a demo. But in that moment, I was like, oh man, the app just worked like ideally, right? I learned about some natural disasters by looking at trending in a region that I didn't know about previously. And that just happened. So yeah, so other things we could do to, like right now we're just sending the title to Twitter and searching, and it kind of does and we're not really in control of how much of what Twitter's decisions it's making to get tweets for it. So something maybe we could do is implement like a filter between that where we have like a fuzzy logic where it sends a bunch of different things, right? Variations on that theme so that we can try and get as many possible tweets as possible. So, but that did happen the other day. Of course, we can't depend on a disaster happening in our demo.
Yeah, I'm sure that the tweets would still be there since we get them up to a week or two, but just people currently aren't talking about those specific hashtags, so it wouldn't show up in our top 10 trending.
Hey, Brom, was it the bonfire? Because
I
filtered for all wildfires in the past week, and that's the only one that has tweets. So we do have the ability to go through.
I didn't even know it had
filter for.
They didn't even have
and then find.
They didn't even have tweets when I did it. It had just happened. There was no tweets about it yet. Yeah. It was I discovered it through the region trending feature, and then I discovered those wildfires.
But yeah, if anyone if anyone who has the app loaded, if they want to see what wildfires have occurred in the past week, and if any of them have tweets, it's absolutely possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I also think there is some, like you mentioned, fertile ground for how we could take the social media farther. There might be some cool visualizations we could do besides just showing a list of the trends. Maybe showing the trends overlaid as icons, or or the bigger the icon, the more it's trending, right? Like having another layer, a social media layer that's graphically visualized as opposed to with the text. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, because this year we had a lot of hurricanes, right? I don't know, 30 about? I can't remember exactly number. Can we do an animation to show all these, hurricanes?
Yeah. We could definitely do that. We could show the hurricanes, and we could show the precipitation on top if we wanted to.
Screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We even run out of English letters, right? We had to use a Greek letters.
Yeah.
So
so yeah, I'm here in the filter page already, And one thing that actually we found pretty interesting is if you select precipitation with the severe storms, the hurricanes, you can see pretty much like direct correlations between it. Let me see
Okay.
if I might. Oh, I need to go all the way back. So here, sort of similar to the previous one that we gave. So we'll start January 1. And I mean, nothing's really jumping in here, so we'll jump forward a little bit. We'll see if we can get closer to hurricane season.
Yeah, when does hurricane season start? Well, I guess we'll figure it out in a
I
minute.
guess it depends
summer.
which
Late
area of the
summer,
world
I'm
we're
pretty
at.
sure.
Usually summer.
This summer, yeah, right, yeah. So we probably should.
Yeah.
We probably didn't need to show those first 4 months, but
It's a good thing we have a way to scale this time. Yeah, okay, so
here's
now
one.
we see them.
I feel like there was a month where there was a lot of them, and that's the exciting. I forget which month that was. We could
I
figure
think in
out.
September. like,
September through November was pretty bad on the
Yeah.
East Coast.
September
Whenever Ian
September
was
through November.
sailing.
Yeah, because you.
I was
Yeah, why
in
don't-
some
why
of
don't-
those storms.
Yeah, because there was a hurricane like 2 or 3 weeks ago, Iota, and that was at one point where I realized our app wasn't working correctly because I didn't see Iota
It
because
wasn't
it was in the
showing up.
news, and then we had to. Yeah, oh, and you can see the hurricanes. It moves with the precipitation, and it'll move if it for how many days it lasts. So maybe we
can
should
find
go
an
to
example.
September or. Iota was pretty good, but I think like you said, yeah, August, September, October, they really start to.
Iota and
Pop up
Zeta
here.
was pretty bad. In fact, I actually
here's-
took a screenshot.
So there we see one that
Yeah, you can
came
see that.
pretty close to where we were.
And what goes on land makes landfall, it looks like too.
So if we go in on one of them, we
Really?
should be able to press play and watch it, right?
Yeah. Where's the faster place?
Yeah, I mean,
Like zoom in on maybe the one in the Gulf or something.
and you can notice, yeah, it's on top of a precipitation, a little ball of precipitation there. So it kind of confirms, okay, this thing's working because it's moving with the precipitation,
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool to see when that started working. And you can see up when it's been declared an actual storm, when it,
Yeah, so that one lasted a couple days and went from
I-
like the Gulf into the.
here's another one moving. Here's another one moving along. It looks like getting towards Florida.
Can you overlay two different styles at once, or is it just like storm versus wind, or you know what I mean? Like, can you have two of those layers?
It's just one weather tile at the moment, but there is the possibility for doing that in the future. Yeah.
Okay.
I think for stability reasons is the reason why we haven't done that yet. Is sometimes these weather tiles can be a little bit finicky.
It could be interesting. It could also be like not that interesting. I just thought it would be like kind of.
Yeah, I think
No.
that there's definitely like worthwhile applications.
Yeah, that was something we were thinking about, like with wildfires, like could put temperature and wind, right? To
Well,
see
and
like
then the other thing, we were exposed to a lot of sort of storms here. But then the other thing that we found is, especially through like later August and September, is if we're over sort of Indonesia and the Pacific, they have a pretty heavy amount of storms that occur as well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Cool.
I gotta see if, and the easiest way would be to stop this and then choose one and see what date it shows up.
yeah, see what date shows up on. October 19th. That looks, yeah. One thing we did notice in this app is there is a lot of earthquakes that happen all the time. We actually had to limit the earthquakes to magnitude 6 or greater. Otherwise, it would have been like thousands of earthquakes. So you could do an app just focusing on earthquakes, I feel like.
Sure.
Which would be interesting, I think.
Another thing that could be interesting is right now, severe storms could include a hurricane, a typhoon, a cyclone. And it would be interesting to see if we could even break those into further categories. So you can just look for a specific severe storm.
Yeah. Cool. So how are you gonna keep this service alive?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess is it well, right now we're not paying for anything on Amazon. We didn't get charged a single cent on Amazon for this. So
Okay.
as long as we don't right? Like Tyler, right? Like we don't shut this thing down and it'll just live, right?
Going to check
Until-
right now to see if we've been billed $1 yet.
All right, Tyler's going to give us an update on that in a second. I guess it would depend on, I mean, obviously we got to keep the thing up to date. Things can break when things get updated, and we're not making sure that.
Well, and some of these weather layers, as different government agencies come in and leave, some of these observations like don't persist.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, because the data you're looking at right now is from NASA's Gibbs library and then it has a bunch of what is it? We can't see, Tyler. What is that?
You can see it. I was going to show it's $0. We have
$0. So we've managed to not pay anything on Amazon, which is pretty awesome.
But that's also part of the scalability issue. Is it will become more expensive as we get more and more calls to use this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, you have 10,000 users. Definitely, this is about time to just think about how to make money out of it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to find some spots to throw some ads, maybe on the filter screen.
Yeah. Put some kind of commercial.
We're just looking for generous Temple professors that might want to invest. Charlie.
But actually, it doesn't cost too much. I don't think it's a $1 million project. You get the $10,000 to $50,000. I think you can make it started, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think there's a lot of room to grow. I mean,
Yeah.
we definitely need to make UI changes could have a better user interface and obviously better scalability, a little stuff on the back end. But I think it's a good it's a good idea.
Yeah. So yeah.
I never used Twitter before. And then because of this app, I found myself checking GeoTracker every day to see what was trending in Philadelphia. And I had never done that with Twitter before. So I found myself finding things out that I would have not found out. Rob goes, "Oh, did you hear about this thing with HBO?" And I said, "Yeah, I was just going to tell you about it because I saw it was trending in Philadelphia." And I was like, "All right, cool." So it's really funny that it had that side effect.
I like it, at least from the Twitter aspect, that you have a map, like an actual map that you can zoom in and out of and then bring up Twitter. And then the trending is like linked. That's really cool because you can do that in the Twitter app, but there's no map. So it's not as visual. So this is a much cooler interface for that.
Yeah, and that could be made so much better. I think we just wanted to get it working, but I think it could be, and like I think the Twitter idea, this was Charlie's idea that you proposed to us, and we said, okay, well we'll throw it in there, and I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical, but as soon as I used it, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So it's one of those things where I didn't realize how cool it was until I used it. I thought this is really great, So definitely a really cool thing.
Yeah, always the novel idea always is some kind of combination of different apps. Put them together, you never know what something new feature gonna come out. it cannot use just a single application to get the feature, but you put several applications together, let's give it a different story. Yeah.
How much is the paid Twitter API, like from that standpoint of, because I know that you had mentioned in previous demos that you couldn't go back like more than like 2 weeks, but if you paid, then you could. What is that?
I'm not sure. I can look real quick. Also, one solution was, get the tweets, right, and store them in a database, right?
Yeah.
and then you're building yourself a historical database. Of course.
It looks like it's all up to how many requests you want to make. So like 500 would be $150 a month, and it goes all the way up to 10,000, which is 2,500.
10,000 per what? Per what increment time?
Per month.
10,000 calls per month. That's it, or 10,000 tweets. That's it. Boy, we're lucky. So we could, like, if everyone started using this now, you could blow through our Twitter. Although there should be, we did build in some alert that should at least tell the user that the tweet call failed. So it won't just do nothing. It should inform you some way that, hey, we're having trouble getting tweets right now, or you hit your API limit.
Another thing to mention is even with the premium, you only get tweets 30 days historically, so it's not.
So you can go back a month.
Yeah.
Well, the way to beat that would be to just start storing them in a database, and from whenever you start storing them, you build yourself a library of tweets going back however long that database existed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Probably too much work. That's probably too much work.
Yeah, that would be a lot of tweets coming in.
Yeah. Also, you cannot exhaust all the tweets put in your database. How big your database going to be? That's.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it'll be big.
If we can make money, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You pay for Twitter, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Make more money than you pay Twitters. Otherwise, then the business model doesn't make sense.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good proof of concept.
Yeah.
There's definitely a concept here.
We really should think about how we can monetize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, you could do tons of stuff like in-app purchases, ads. Shit, I could see there's a whole load of things you could do there.
We're just selling umbrellas.
Selling umbrellas, yeah. You know what else would be a cool feature that would be like a nice add-on? It's like alerts, or having like a notification feature. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was something we talked about before, but we never decided to add it as a requirement. But that would be, yeah, right. Like if you have saved disasters, like being, push updates to your phone about those disasters.
Weirdly enough, I know from some experience that the notifications actually, like, you have to pay for that feature, at least on the Apple side. So yeah,
someone else in another section did something with updates and was saying it was more difficult than they imagined. And also with React Native, it was a pain.
Yeah.
It was a real pain because the existing API, you really have to kind of go into there and change a lot of stuff. So maybe if this were to be really done, maybe it would make more sense to not do it in React Native and to do it in Swift and do it in Java. And I don't know. It depends. You'd have to think about that. But yeah.
Actually, that I actually was curious about, right? So from a code base standpoint, right? If you wanted to go because now you have like a good proof of concept here, right? But if you wanted to like pull and like hire people that are like maybe native Android developers, native iOS developers, would the API be easy enough to just go like, okay, we're just making network calls here. We just have to get an experience.
The back end should right now the back end is completely decoupled, right, from the front end, and these are just API calls. So you could build a website. You'd have to redo the entire front end, right? Which is not trivial, especially because there's a dynamic map included. But you could do this with a different website. You could do it with Java or Swift, and the API calls are still just the same API calls you're making to AWS, and the data is the same, and it's just using that data. So the back end wouldn't have to be changed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hey guys, hire me. I'll swing right in.
Yeah, you're our Swift expert, so
we're going to start you
you
at a
tell
salary
us.
of $3.99 if you're interested.
Hey, I don't know. We still have to grade you.
No, but I definitely think the feed screen could use some like updates, like you were saying, even pushing notifications to the feed screen to add, not
The
only
filter
your
screen
save.
design could use a little sort of love.
Yeah.
The UX in general could use a little bit of love. I think
it's really impressive, like even just among all of the sections that have used React Native, just how much you're able to accomplish with that environment, right? And considering that, I mean, how many of you have done React Native before? Like just, I can't remember from.
I did over the summer, but I really kind of got more into it over this project. I was doing mostly just simple,
It's very impressive to see, because I know the other section was the same deal. There was only like one student that had React Native knowledge, and the fact that you can learn this and make an application that's cross-platform is really cool.
Yeah, from someone who's done like app experience, or like I did the iOS project in software design, but I think if you know like a little bit about web or application programming, it kind of correlates with React Native. I would say it's similar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But really cool, guys.
Thanks, Ian. You've been very helpful. You've been helpful, with your advice and your guidance on testing as well, and just in general support. And definitely really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see all the other presentations, but I'm gonna have to go back and look at the recordings and check out how some of the cool projects the other students worked on.
Oh yeah, they're pretty fun. I think like all of the sections are definitely worth watching. They were everyone really brought it today.
Are we gonna? Is this gonna be posted to YouTube? I saw that there were some on YouTube, like the ones we were looking at. That'd be cool.
That is up to Professor Wang. Although, Professor, if you need any help with that, I could upload those videos. That would be cool.
I think the examples were on YouTube. That's why I'm asking. I was just curious.
Yeah, I know he posted like a good amount of them, like the safe home and stuff. That was a cool example video. But it would be neat to have more of them up there. Yeah. I haven't watched my final demo in a while. I'm thinking about reminiscing and watching it.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have to probably wrap up. One thing I really appreciate, if you can, do a little bit of research. Now, you said a couple of days ago there was some wildfire, also related lots of tweets, right? So when you identify this kind of scenario, maybe make another video, just to run the demo again. Say, hey, here is something. Now, a lot of people in tweets talking about the events, right? Today, only thing I don't see that part is the part is like you get events. You try to go to tweets, but you really couldn't find anything, right? Say, hey,
Charlie, we're gonna need you to start setting some fires. You gotta let us know when you're doing it.
Okay, in my backyard.
Yeah. You just got to make it big enough so that the satellite.
So, you got to make it big enough so it shows up.
Yeah.
Don't rake your lawn. I heard that works, right?
So
are we at like 40 days now?
Yeah. So thank you very much for this demo. Very successful, and also appreciate all the hard work you guys put in. The team is great. The demo is also great. So everyone think about how we can keep the momentum, make it forward. I think it's a good chance. I would think about it, and everybody think about it to see if we get a chance to commercialize it. It won't take too, if we just pay Apple, store, we can upload it. That's not too much money, right? So let's do it. Find some kind of a schedule, a plan to see how we really need it to make it happen. So anyway, so we have to wrap up. I really appreciate you guys. Great work. And give big hands, number one. Number two, I wish everybody have a happy holidays. It's close to the end. And also next semester, no matter where you are, if you're still in a temple, we may meet in person on camps. I wish we can go back to the camps. We're gonna see you, meet you at camps. If you're gonna graduate this semester, you're gonna work for a company, good luck. If you come back to visit temple, now let me know, what you learned in this capstone really helped you, in your work. I'm glad to, if something you learned here, say, hey, this helps, or you wish we can cover something, something more in the capstone course. So that's also going to be very important, for me, and to continue to teach. I'm still going to teach capstone, class next semester. So hopefully we're going to identify some new projects. So no matter what happens, good luck to you guys. And probably you're going to see you somewhere. We can cross, this is a small world. You never know, we're going to come across somewhere sometimes.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much. It was a
thank
great
you.
semester.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you to everyone who
Thank
came
you
out
very much.
to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, good. All right, we have to end this call. Okay, bye.
All right,
See you,
see you guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
Bye-bye. All right, I'll see you around.